All right, so let's start with a brief round of intros, and you guys are all working on the cutting edge of this innovative technology. Why don't you each take a moment to share a recent project that you worked on and something that you learned in that process. Natalie, maybe we'll start with you.
Yeah, thank you. I'm Natalie Silverstein. I'm Chief Innovation Officer at a company called Collectively. We're an influencer marketing agency that works with some of the world's most iconic brands, Dove, Airbnb, L'Oreal, et cetera, at creator marketing really at scale. And a lot of what I spend my time doing is advising our clients about what's coming next in the creator space, in the social space, and kind of more broadly in general marketing. Our parent company is the Brand Tech Group, which is one of the sponsors of today's event, and they have a huge focus on how AI is transforming marketing. So I'm talking to clients all the time, and over this past summer, I actually led a really pretty in-depth workshop with about 100 marketers from a big multinational food company, presenting essentially the whole picture of what AI is doing in marketing and specifically in the creator space. And why I thought it was amazing was that it really opened my eyes to how much marketers are curious about this, but also really not focusing on it in their day-to-day. And the thing that I learned is that we as folks who are more expert in the space, who are looking at every model release and every tool release, we need to have a lot of empathy for our brand partners who are spread very thin in their marketing jobs. And it's really helped me kind of come to those conversations, again, with a lot more empathy and really understanding where my audience is so we can take baby steps together into this new era.
My name is Jason Zada. I'm the Chief Creative Officer and founder of Secret Level. You might know us from a Coca-Cola campaign that just was was going around. It's our second year in a row doing it. So love the constant comments I get online. It's fun, but you know you can't have progress without having the ability to push things forward a bit. So, but we work with some of the biggest brands in the world. We work with some of the biggest studios in the world. Tell you what I learned is that we probably a lot of people in this room love AI and are into it, and there's a lot of people that don't. So there's a really interesting intersection right now that we have with lovers and haters and this and that. But it's progress, and it's not gonna stop. So
amazing. I'm so honored to be up here with you guys. I admire the work that you do so much. All three of you are just incredible. My name is Paige Piskin. I'm a creative technologist and a content creator. I've been working in the digital media space for about 15 years, and in the last 5, I became an augmented reality artist. It kind of was where I transitioned into being a creator. I created over 300 AR effects across social media and studied how people use them to tell stories. Over the past couple of years, my AR effects generated around 400 billion impressions and were shared 1.5 billion times. So it taught me a lot about what people use AR for and how much fun they're having with it. Led me to work with some incredible brands like Netflix, Coldplay, companies like Bratz and Walmart. And I eventually pivoted into working with AI as I started to integrate AI tools into my creative pipelines. It helped me be able to do things I never thought was possible before, like code an AR experience where I had no coding experience, or do really complex animations using motion capture without a motion capture suit. So eventually I started working full-time as an AI artist, and my most recent project I've been super excited about is a collaboration I did with Meta, working with their head of global business, and we created a trailer to display to advertisers to show the capabilities of what you could do with AI in a very short period of time. We had about a 3-day deadline to create a 1-minute trailer. The most complicated part was coming up with the idea, which was crazy, but it just shows that you have to have an idea to create a project with AI, because without the idea you have no vision, and without vision you have to depend on AI to fill in all the gaps for you and make all the decisions for you, and it's our decisions that make our work so powerful. So it started with an idea that took the most amount of time, and then everything fell into place after that, but it was an incredible experience to create a trailer in such a short period of time, and I learned a lot.
What was the biggest learning and takeaway?
The idea, it's just that it's such a complicated thing coming up with a good idea and something that's going to resonate with your audience and the people that you're partnering with. I originally tried to work with ChatGPT to just come up with the idea completely, and I hated everything. I couldn't see it. And if you can't see it, you can't build it. And so I had to do some research on my own and dig deep into finding out what the head of global business, which is Nicole Mendison, I had to see what her favorite movies were and who's inspired her. And then from there, I figured, all right, I'll create something that's kind of like an alien movie where women are lead characters and leading a mission to discover this new molecule on another planet that we could use to make our lives better on Earth. And so it was like coming up with that idea that helped paint the rest of the project.
Something that I love so much about this panel here is that what it means to be an AI native studio looks really diverse, right? Like you have Paige Piskin, who, as a solo creator, full stack creator, right? Like you are able to have the output. I've seen your work. We've worked together on many projects, and you have the output of like a full stack, like Hollywood studio. And it's incredible that one individual creator can have that, right? And Jason, also on your end, you work with a bigger team. And what you're producing looks and feels, and the process of that is really different. And same with you, Natalie, like this intersection of creators and AI and how that's shaping the future of brand and creator collaboration. So let's talk a little bit about what it means to be an AI studio today, and how do you kind of think about that process? And Jason, let's start with you. You mentioned something recently, which is that pre-production is the new post-production, and I want you to talk a little bit about what that means.
Yeah, that came up actually last year with Coca-Cola. I think we were in a meeting and we just sort of were talking about how we were instantly able to see basically the final frame of what used to take. You know, you'd have to go through the whole process. You do ideation, then you do pre-production, then you go shoot, then you do post-production, then you do visual effects, and then you're like, oh, now I see it, what it's finally going to be. But we see it so early now with AI. So you could literally be looking at the final frames of a production. And you know, we do everything from commercials to, we're working on 3 feature films right now, long form. And you know, I think what I've seen, especially with like big A-list directors, is just to be able to visualize your film, your project so early on in the project. It's so powerful. You get to make so many more decisions that you probably, you know, like you would have, just having to wait on it traditionally. And I was always a person that was like eager, you know, like I wanted to make things and I want to get in there and make it fast. And it was this ability to finally visualize these whole worlds, whole story worlds very quickly, and then be able to iterate on them and make changes and rethink things and rethink your choices versus, you know, anybody who's ever been part of making a film, it's a lot leading up to production. You make a film and then you're kind of locked into it unless, you know, your studio's like, sure, I'll go give you a couple more $1 million to do reshoots. So there was so much time that was put into the pre-production side of it. And I feel like we're doing pre-production at the same time we're doing production at this kind of almost at the same time you're doing post-production.
Has there been any like really interesting insight on that process that you learned that completely changed the output on any specific project you worked on?
I think there's a lot of projects. Well, on my personal projects, there's just things that happen when I think it's going to go one way, and I've written it, and it all of a sudden takes a detour. I did a project at TED this year where the first part of my talk, I asked the audience for input into making a film, and then 3 days later, I debuted it. I had no idea that the audience gave us a beaver. I asked for a character, they gave us a beaver, they gave us science fiction, and then they picked a location underwater, and I didn't know what was going to happen. And then like over the course of 3 days, we just kept playing around with it, rewriting scripts. We spent actually the first day of 3 days just writing scripts and just trying to figure out what the story was, because story is so important to us. So yeah, things kind of evolve in a way that I don't think I've ever seen, and I've been part of the early days of the internet, so kind of seen a lot of the technological advances, but not until recently can you really see and change and iterate very quickly on where you want to go with creative work.
Amazing. And Natalie, from your perspective, like I personally have worked in the creator economy for the last 15 years, and so I really understand the kind of creator side of the business. What I personally have seen, when it comes to like traditional creators, is that they're using AI a lot in like the ideation process and maybe in the optimization process, and in the sort of middle content. In the kind of creative production process, a lot of your traditional creators haven't really adopted that technology yet in kind of more taken advantage of the ability to move more upstream into this more cinematic narrative-driven content. It's still very personality-driven. Is that what you're also seeing? And are you focused more as as an agency, kind of on the ideation side and the kind of analytics and optimization side, or are you also like working with creators to kind of integrate it into the end-to-end production process as well?
Yeah, I think the answer is both. We really think about our AI strategy on behalf of our clients as being everything that happens before content is created, right? All the ideation, all of like the way that content creators are running their businesses and being more efficient so that they can spend more of their time focused on their creativity, to as an agency, how we're running workflows that are super complex to do thousands of posts for brands in each quarter. But then when it comes to the actual creative output, I agree with you. I'm not seeing quite as many of the legacy creators, the personality-driven creators, necessarily embracing the production tools as much. But there's a whole new category of creators. So the folks who maybe are not so much on Instagram and TikTok, very face-forward, building their audiences that way, they're folks who are maybe more on X and are more on YouTube that are building in public and learning the tools and really it's the artists, right? So I ran an AI residency program for the Brand Tech Group last year where I kind of got to choose among some of the most amazing creators in that space from around the world who were really experimenting, but they're not face forward. It's not about them, it's about their work. And so the collaborations with brands look really different then. Brands are hiring creators even to be in-house, but again, to be like a face for the brand, let's say. I'm sure everybody's seen that on various social channels. But now we're also seeing brands starting to think about hiring AI creators to be in-house, to design worlds, to think about how these tools can come into their general content creation workflows. And I think the last thing is somewhere in between with the personality-driven creators. We have brands who are wanting to actually license creator likenesses and collaborate really closely with those creators who have made a name for themselves with their personality, but to do that in a way that feels really ethical and really collaborative. So a lot of what we're working on is kind of the infrastructure for that, both the kind of legal business affairs, licensing side of things, but then also what is the collaboration space? What are the tools that allow brand and creator to kind of be on the same page about what content is being created with their likeness using Gen AI?
I love that because, it's really like there's a conversation oftentimes about like AI replacing creators, right? And really it's about AI plus creators and expanding who gets to be a creator, right? And you're seeing a new ushering in of creators around the world who now have access to this cinematic quality production in ways that are really exciting. And Paige, please tell us a little bit more about your pipeline, your workflow, like as a full stack creative studio yourself. What does your process look like and how you bring your vision to life?
So right now, it's like I feel every week there's a brand new tool that comes out. And I try to stay on the cutting edge and on the pulse of all of it because every week something could be coming out that makes your work more efficient and more just more streamlined. And so right now, I would say every time I get a new project, I have to think about what the workflow is going to be before I start it. And one mistake in your workflow could make the project take longer. So I'm always trying to figure out how to incorporate these new tools and how to use them to boost efficiency in everything that I do. And then I take a look at the project that I'm getting and try to create a workflow ahead of time that's going to be the most efficient for that to make sure it's the most seamless with my clients. A lot of times we'll start with the concept and the visuals. Like even when we worked together on the project, Adrienne, it was amazing to just like have all the input that you guys provided, and they provided me an incredible mood board with such powerful direction that really helped me see the vision moving forward. And it was amazing to be able to come up with the visuals and get approvals and then create videos. And just if you organize the process every step of the way, you could create a really smooth process where it's easy to make changes and changes take less than 24 hours. And yeah, so it's just been an incredible experience for me working in this space because it's so exciting how it changes so much, and also just watching how there's new technology every week that makes it even better.
What technology are you most excited about today? And I love getting messages from Paige because she'll be like, have you checked out this tool? Oh my God, 11 Labs just came out with a new model and it's so much better now. So tell us, like, what are you most excited about today?
Right now,
By the way, that answer is going to change tomorrow, I'm sure, and the next day.
Yeah, right at this minute, I'm so excited about Google's updates with Gemini and the vibe coding tools. I've been messing with them in Google Build for like a while, and their recent updates have made it so efficient for building applications in less than in seconds. You could basically build anything that you want to create, whether it's something that you've always wanted your whole life, like a tool you've been looking for that just hasn't existed, or you could create a pipeline for yourself in an application form. So I've been using it depending on my projects. If I get a project to create a music video, I created a music video visualizing tool to help me step by step map out the storyboard for the music video and create frame by frame each frame using consistent characters with identities and all this stuff wrapped into it. So instead of having to like repeat every step of my workflow every single time, I could create mini tools that help me do it much faster using tools like that. So I find that to be so exciting because it's us plus machine again, but we're guiding every step of the process, and it's still streamlined for us so we could replicate over and over again.
And what I love about Paige too, you're a creator, you're a filmmaker, you're a developer, right? Like you're building companies, you're building worlds, and that's the power of this technology is really anything is possible. You can bring it, forward. But I want to also talk about the marketing of AI, right? AI has been marketed to creatives so poorly, I personally think, right? It's like a lot of the conversation around AI is about cost efficiency and replacing people and doing things faster and cheaper, which, yes, AI can help to do that for sure. But is that maybe the best lead forward when we're talking about how to engage with creatives? How can we, use this technology to do things that were never possible before? What do you think about, what AI actually unlocks in terms of the value it brings to the creative process? Jason, maybe we'll start with you.
Sure. Superpowers. I always say, like, as a creative person, it gives you superpowers. It's really, to me, it's that thing that, as a person who's been attempting to tell stories my entire life from when I was a little kid, borrowing VHS cameras and things like that, have a lot of stories in my head and try to get those out. To me, every single time, and you get a lot of hate on Twitter from people who are like artists oh, you're using AI, and I'm like, you guys just don't get it. Like once you use it, you'll understand, because to me, the superpowers that you gain are like ChatGPT. I think we were talking about this last night. ChatGPT is like, my GPT is an extension of me. I could do things so much faster. I could write things so much faster, and it's not writing for me, it's writing with me, and it's helping me in my process. And then, in terms of like, as a filmmaker, to be able to like sit down and do an entire film just by myself if I want to. I mean, that to me, I don't know how anyone could, everybody says, it's gonna put people out of jobs. I understand that, but it's not a valid argument to me, because it's like, when I'm working on a personal film that would have taken 30, 40, 50 people that I can't afford to hire for my personal film, I could just do it on my own. It does give you superpowers, and that to me is the missing argument. I think you're totally right. It was mismarketed to creatives, because like it does give you the powers to unlock so many different things that you traditionally wouldn't have been able to do, or wouldn't have the time to do, or wouldn't have the money to do. And I think that's where, if anybody has that argument, I just always try to focus them on like, just try it. You trust me. For me as a creative, it makes you just 10 times more productive, or 100.
When you're working with brands, what's the expectation in terms of like the cost efficiency and or the speed in which you're able to deliver as a studio now with this new technology? And how do you kind of guide brands through that process and manage their expectations?
Yeah, I mean, I think we've probably all dealt with this, but it's, usually people come to you and they're like, oh, it's fast and cheap. And you're like, no, it's efficient. And with that efficiencies, we always try to tell people, like, if you're gonna spend $300,000 on a commercial, spend $300,000 on a commercial, but with AI or AI hybrid, you're gonna be able to do so much more. So maybe it's 2 commercials, maybe it's a commercial plus tons of social media content. But to me, it's not spending less, it's spending the same amount of money, but the efficiencies gain you all sorts of things that you normally couldn't be able to do. And I think that's where I think a lot of the conversation has gone south, is where people just go fast, cheap, and that's not really what AI is best at.
Paige, what's been your experience on that end?
So I would say, like, I love the question that you asked initially, and like I I've been thinking a lot about this, and like a lot of times when I'm talking to people, I do say it's all about streamlining and efficiency and stuff like that. But the truth is, it's all about storytelling, like you said, and taking an idea and bringing it to life as fast as you can, because that's what our goal has been since the beginning. If you zoom out and look at the timeline of history, we've been storytellers since the dawn of time, and that's what's got us to the point that we're at today. And we started maybe with cave paintings, and then eventually, I was just a few days ago in Dublin, and I got to see the Book of Kells, which took about 30 years to create. 30 years. It took that because that was what they had back then. It was the way they were able to create the artistic pieces that were inside that book. And if you look at the Sistine Chapel, which took about 10 years to make, everything's gotten more efficient as time's gone on, but at the same time, it's been with the goal to tell stories. So I feel like for me, as an artist, I've been drawing and sculpting and exploring every kind of medium since I was little. And recently, I've been using AI to turn my all of my drawings, 3D models, into like a custom model, so that I'm able to build at scale, but also be able to create visions that I never would have been able to have the time for in the past. So for me, it's like a superpower. It's unlocked the ability to do things I never thought were possible, and allowed me to create at scale, but at the same time, be able to bring visions to life that I might have never been able to.
And Natalie?
Yeah, I mean, I would say from the brand perspective, listen, companies are always just looking at how best to connect with customers, how to bring, the surprise and delight, as we marketers know that term, or just novelty, or just something new, or something that moves them, right? And I think if we open the aperture of what we're talking about with collaborating with AI creators, from obviously the amazing, more kind of cinematic film storytelling work to also brand experiences, there's also so much interesting value that is now possible at a speed and at a cost that was completely prohibitive before. So I worked with an amazing creator named Jenny Nicholson, who's a longtime creative director in the advertising world, but just like boundless in her imagination, and has been very much an early adopter of just trying all of these tools and has pushed them. And we collaborated in this residency program that I led on all of these like just fun little games, essentially, for a brand, like totally the kind of thing that would have cost hundreds of thousands of dollars in years past, that are just these little experiments and just ways, again, to kind of surprise, delight, engage customers that just wouldn't have been possible before. So I think in terms of value, we think about what are the outcomes that we're seeking, and where can collaborating with these folks and utilizing these technologies get us there. It may not be cheaper, it's going to be different, and again, focusing on value is the thing I think we need to do.
Yeah, I think the biggest unlock that I personally have had looking at the benefits of AI has been like, I have a now 9-year-old who's been vibe coding with AI to make video games, and it's like wild to see. And he's actually using the Gemini 3 model today, and he like woke me up this morning like, I just made a video game that I can use my controller on. And so it's just like you're gonna start to see these kids that are AI native being able to realize their imagination from day one, which is super cool. Okay, let's talk a little bit about AI slop now, right? Obviously, that's a big term that everybody is really focused on, and especially with a lot of the commercial content that's coming out of the space, how brands can kind of navigate this world and what it actually, when to kind of lean into AI and where to really be mindful about how to adopt these tools in a way that is, going to be perceived favorably by their audiences. Jason, of course, maybe you could talk a little bit about your experience on that end and how you have been advising brands to navigate that space.
Yeah, I love the word slop. It's so fun. I've tried to understand the slop mentality, and I kind of do and I kind of don't. But, like, for example, the Coca-Cola TV spot was tested for months before it was put out. And they didn't tell people that it was AI. And it tested very, very, very well. And then all of a sudden, and I saw this last year there was a morning broadcast, and one of the guys, says, oh, here's this new Coca-Cola commercial. They put it up, and his co-anchor is sitting there, and at the end, he's like, what do you think? She's like, oh, I liked it. And he goes, well, it was created in AI. And she goes, oh, well, I don't like it now. It was like that sort of change. And I was like, well, so is that slop, or is that just like your brain is now perceiving it, oh, it was made with AI, therefore somebody typed in one word and they got a commercial out. And I think that there is a lot of AI slop. To be honest with you, I'm putting out a bunch these days with Sora 2. I love it. I'm like, I got my day job, and then I got like, hey, I'm gonna make, Bugs Bunny cartoons
Is
that.
your Cameo on? Like, do you let anyone use your Cameo?
No, I restricted it after getting some interesting
Everybody
stuff.
started with it on, and then
But I think like there is a market for AI slop, and I think it's fun, I mean, I create video. My brother and I send videos back all the time of each other doing stupid shit. So to me, I think because it's easy to create sometimes in AI, you're seeing this flood of really bad amateur content come out. So therefore, everything to certain people are labeled slop. But I feel like we're all I always tell people we're at year zero. In my opinion. Like, we have not actually started AI yet. We're all kind of figuring it out. We're all still playing around. So I'm still scratching my head by when you could put out an actual I consider it a piece of art. I make a lot of short films in Google VO3, and I've screened them for people, and there's no, I don't know how you could call it slop. So anyways. I'm sure everybody has different.
Yeah, let's double click a little bit into the authorship piece. And Paige, from your perspective, a lot of your work is so deeply personal. You are appearing in a lot of your own content. What does that look like in terms of how do you define authorship when you're co-creating with machines?
Yeah, so like I was saying a little bit before, I've trained models on my art style, 3D models, 2D, AR, just to create this new version of the type of art that I create. And I think because of that, when I post a lot of work, I always put a piece of my model into it. Even if it's just a small amount, I put a little bit of my style, and it adds a fingerprint, like a digital signature where you could recognize that it's my style. And so I feel that people respond very well to that. And we were talking about slop before, and it's so true. It's sometimes people will call anything slop as long as they know it's AI. Mm-hmm. I've even had people call regular 3D renders that I've put out slop because they don't know that it's AI or not. They're just calling it that to make problems. But yeah, I feel today I've just found I've gotten a great response when I put myself into my work, whether it's my own personal identity. I'm using myself as a model. It's more realistic. It's more relatable for people. And when I put my own art into the model and I train it on it, people can see that. They could see the difference. And I feel like that's an important thing moving forward, especially for brands, is to be able to create models using your own brand identity, because you've had a history of this brand, and people can recognize when it's not authentic. And I think that authenticity really comes out when you're using your own trained model and your own artwork. And when you use traditional models, it could take a lot of work to tweak them to be able to make it look like your own. You need to train a lot using things like Midjourney and navigating that whole personalization side, but it still has this look that people can recognize as Midjourney. And I think that when you're using your own work, it makes it stand out a lot in the space. So I highly recommend it.
All right, we are wrapping up now, and you are all three brilliant leaders in this space. I want you each to embark one piece of advice for the audience and how they should be thinking about moving forward in this space, especially as we're heading into 2026.
Yeah, I would say, to kind of speaking to the brands, don't be afraid to be a beginner. Again, I walk into these rooms sometimes, and it's like deer in the headlights, and there's a lot of anxiety about not knowing how this works. And I think keeping an open mind, really finding the people to partner with who can guide you, I think that's really important. And again, recognize that this is happening. So get into it.
I've told I tell every brand we work with that for a long time brands have been chasing culture, right? And for the first time ever, we could move at the speed of culture. We just did a music video with will.i.am, and he remixed one of his songs, and it was 3 or 4 days before the end of the World Series. He's like, "We LA, I'm gonna put this song out." I did a music video with them all in AI in 3 days. Crossed our fingers that the Dodgers won, because
That was inevitable.
Because he was like, if the Dodgers don't win, we're gonna look stupid. No, we won't. It's but we were able to move at the speed of culture, and that was to me the most magical thing. Thank God the Dodgers won, and it became this anthem. Within 4 days, it had 30 some odd million views, and that's I just always encourage people, don't not want to fail. It's okay, just try things and move at the speed of culture.
I I feel like there's so many last remarks I could give about AI right now to people just to talk about this topic. But I feel that it's just so important to just try things and not be afraid, and don't ever feel like it's too late. Like, don't feel like you missed the boat. It's so early, and it's changing every week. And the workflows we did 3 weeks ago might be archaic at this point. And so every single week, you could be starting out and be just as ahead as everybody else in the space, especially if you put the effort into it and you study these models and create with them. And yeah, just focus a lot on continuity and quality control. I feel like as long as you lean into that and you're a brand, authentic brand aesthetic, people will respond to it positively. And also know when to use AI and when not to use AI. Sometimes it's important to know when not to use it.
Amazing advice. Paige, Jason, Natalie, thank you guys so much. Give it up for our amazing panelists.